And yeah, as I said, I work for Microsoft. I'm a cloud and AI solutions architect for MIA. And a lot of people have abused the photo that was at a dev, but feel free, you can do that too. You can also create yourself one of these anime avatars if you like. Just upload a picture. It works from Android, iOS, or even your laptop. Only disadvantage is that you get the QR code to my LinkedIn profile embedded into it. So it's like my business card, if you think about it that way. So you can go ahead and do that over there. And yeah, that's basically me. Pretty good graphical representation of me. So let's start with a little bit of how things work, okay? So let's think about some of how these Copilot agents work inside of a meeting. So when we look at Copilot inside of a meeting, what is it exactly doing, right? So I speak a lot about voice, and I speak a lot about how Teams has come a long way with regards to these voice protocols. And if we had to dive really, really deep into them about how we've got an in and an out for both the ones for both sides of the conversation, we then start thinking about STT and speech to text technology, which is analyzing what is being said inside the meeting, right? And then what happens is Copilot then starts looking at this transcript, and then it can do a whole bunch of stuff with that, right? So you've got a bunch of different options with regards to allowing Copilot inside of your meeting. So we've got this only during the meeting, we've got during and then after the meeting, or we've got off. And these are controlled by admins or by policies, which can obviously be set through the Teams portal, which I can show you a little bit later. But ideally, clicking on the Copilot prompts and the user starting a transcript, you can then start a transcript only, as well as record the meeting. So instead of you having to record the meeting, you can just have the transcript, which allows you to do intelligent things like recap the meeting as well. So again, I'll go through the licensing a little bit later as well. When it comes to what you're allowed to do inside of a meeting, or what you're allowed to do inside of a call, and who has access to which pieces of the recap or of the recording, depending on which sort of license they have as far as Copilot is concerned, right? So again, this is all IT admin specific. So if you don't have the ability to start a transcript, then you can't. If you have the ability to start it in the meeting and you can only use it in the meeting, or whether you can use it, not use it at all. So that's quite cool as far as granularity is concerned. If especially you're living in a compliant organization where people are really, really iffy about stuff leaving the environment, some organizations actually just turn it off for specific meetings because they don't want any of these meetings recorded in any sort of way. So we also have things like sensitivity as well. So depending on the org settings, you can also apply sensitivity labels to these recordings and transcriptions. So depending on the sensitivity of these recordings and transcriptions, some of them may be unavailable for Copilot to use. So also, when you've got this who can record and who can't transcribe or record, you can also have this only during the meeting can be set to no one to prevent anybody from starting or recording a transcript. And again, you can then also set this to allow Copilot is off, and then set that to no one, and then you can actually lock it completely so that nobody can do anything with it. And if you have permission to transcribe, you can also start Copilot automatically as well. So if you want, you can set it to only during the meeting, and give permission to somebody to start transcribing it, and the transcript will begin to override the only during the meeting setting. So again, you can also override a specific user's options here as well via policy. So you can turn it on, turn it off, and then you can force the user to not be able to turn it off as well. So you can do all of that from the admin portal as well. Let's talk about licensing. So if we have to look at Copilot versus the Teams premium features, right? So there's something for you to see over there. And you'll see that at the top, you've got Intelligent Recap, and Intelligent Recap is available in Teams Premium and in 365 Copilot, but you've got custom questions inside of 365 Copilot. But you've also just got standard stuff inside of Teams Premium, and then you've got real-time questions inside of Copilot.
Josh, the chips are ready.
Ooh, hello. Can I have some?
What chips is that?
Chips would be nice.
Please, can I have chips? Is it hot chips? Is it Sears chips? Is it McDonald's chips? Is it potato wedges? I'd love some, please. I'll send you my address. You can Uber Eats it here. Sorry, Warren, we had to do that.
And you know what? I did something super Cape Townian tonight. Check. I'm drinking kombucha.
No, that's not a Cape Townian thing. Please
it is
don't
totally
label,
a Cape Townian thing.
Do not stereotype everyone that lives here, right?
Everybody
maybe people
in Cape Town drinks kombucha.
Maybe people in ops and the people that you used to frequent with, right? That's the gluten intolerant, right? I can consume gluten, right? When I was born, there was no such thing as gluten intolerance, right? And
same here.
Yes, yeah. it's a new thing, right? Because people have gotten soft, like my kids. Right. Anyhow, carry on. Teams Premium versus Copilot.
Yes, yeah. Teams Premium. Okay, so facilitator agent and interpreter agent, and man, you got to see this thing in action. I mean, it's really, really cool. Recently released as well. You've got to see it. And then private Copilot chat as well, which you obviously know. I mean, individual prompts, and you can ask it pretty much anything regarding information inside of your organization. Let's talk about some of these license impacts for your attendees. Okay, so your license will determine your access, and the organizer's license and settings dictate what attendees can access during meetings. Okay, so let that sink in a little bit. So you'll see that, for instance, on this meeting, right, because Tracy's got some really cool, well, I think it's Tracy, or is it you, Al? I think it's you. You've got some really cool options inside of your tenant. You'll see that, like, for instance, if we had to
the tenant hosting this is a business basic, but there's no Copilot licenses in my tenant.
Yeah. So that's why
hosting this.
Okay. So that's why I say if we had to go and look and see what's available inside this, you'll see it's probably very limited, right? So then we've got feature restrictions for non-licensed. So non-licensed attendees, okay, can't access any of the private Copilot responses or interpreter features, but they can view the facilitator interactions. Okay, so the facilitator, when it joins the meeting and it starts facilitating the meeting, they can view those facilitator interactions as well, but they won't be able to do anything with those facilitator reactions afterwards, right? So transcript and recap access will depend on the organizer permissions. We, as Microsoft, introduced access control options in June 2004, and that basically allows organizers to restrict artifact access to everyone, co-organizers, or specific individuals. So these controls just basically allow you to secure the meeting configurations in any which way you want. Then you've got some meeting with mixed license scenarios, which I'll take you through quickly. So scenario one, mixed license meeting. So if you've got a meeting with mixed licenses, meetings include licenses with premium license create mixed environment. Okay, so the Copilot assistant licenses will be able to receive private AI assistance during the meeting. Okay, and the recordings will be determined by the organizer setting. Only licensed users will receive the intelligent recap and can query Copilot after the fact. The facilitator notes are accessible to all, but they're stored in the OneDrive of the organizer. Okay, so in a typical scenario, you can have attendees with premium licenses, without premium licenses, but Copilot users, the Copilot organizer is licensed. Then in scenario two, you've got only during meeting mode. This is just a quick one around only during meeting mode. So only during meeting mode, it would be specific around privacy conscious organizations and sensitive meetings. So it'll enable the Copilot assistance during the meeting, but it'll discard all the data after the fact. So the transcripts and everything like that will be removed afterwards, and you'll have no sort of e-discovery or AI capabilities or anything like that after. So action items and summaries are generated in real time, but then they won't be saved afterwards either. So again, this works with some of those retention policies, or if you like working in a regulated industry. When it comes to calling scenarios, so as I was talking about some of the direct routing bits and pieces earlier, so you'll see that you've got Copilot availability. If you've got the 365 Copilot license, you could do one-to-one Teams voice over IP, group VoIP calls, and PSTN calls. You'll be able to have the calling plan with Copilot and with restrictions as well. So admins can also configure the policy so that you can have Copilot functionality in these calling scenarios as well. So you can have transcription and all that lovely stuff happening in voice calls. So your PSTN calls and all that stuff, they can be transcribed and recapped as well. Which is pretty cool. So something that's nice about that is you'll see certain types of things like, you know, your recording software for call centers and those sorts of things. Unless they've got their own recap type of software built in, you could probably use this instead. Save a bit of cash over there as well, I suppose, just depending on the industry that you're in. When it comes to the phone device support, so there are a couple of devices where transcription and cloud recording is enabled. You do require specific licenses for it, but you do get AI benefits as in call summaries and in-call prompts, summarizing conversations, listing action items and all that stuff inside of the phone's device supports. So specifically, some of these rooms are also coming with this now. So you get AI tools that you can use as part of a Teams room as well. If we have to look at some of these scenarios with regards to Copilot in a meeting. So just to take you through the process of what happens while the meeting's happening. So if you're recapping a meeting using AI, the recommendation is to turn on the recording so that it captures the visual information as well. It'll then give you a recap of the entire experience. What it's going to do is it's going to allow you to then determine who was speaking, when they were speaking, how much they spoke for. It's going to give you the Copilot notes. It's going to give you summaries. And then again, if you want to, you can then continue asking questions about the meeting, even when the meeting is over. So if you set during and after the meeting, as far as the allow Copilot's concerned before the meeting, you're happy, you're good, you're sorted. But again, if you set it to during the meeting only, what's going to happen is none of that's still going to be available afterwards. It's going to get trashed. So after the meeting, again, you can then recap the notes. You can keep asking questions about the meeting. And you can also have that attendance report. So if you wanted to make sure that, let's say you have a team meeting and you ask, you're not there, and you ask somebody else to run it, you can see who was active in that specific meeting and who wasn't while you weren't there, which is pretty cool. So you can see whether your team was doing a good job without you or whatever the case may be. Another scenario, so like I said earlier, using Copilot during the meeting, but you don't want to keep anything after the fact. You set the allow Copilot to only during the meeting. You can also set who can record the meeting to transcribe to no one. Then set the meeting chat to in meeting only or off to prevent any chats from being saved after the meeting. And then Copilot will only do temporary STT capture so that when they click the Copilot icon, you can make sure that everything is trashed after the meeting, and it will only answer questions about the meeting during the meeting. You want to use Copilot for a meeting over 2 hours. So we do have some restrictions, or how could you say limits at the moment. So if you look, Copilot can only process roughly 7 to 8 hours of spoken English. So you would want to sort of shorten these segments if you can, so that you can ensure the AI has a high quality response rate. So some of the best practices here is schedule the meetings in smaller segments, and then when possible, discuss one topic per segment, because again, it's all about context. So in the meeting, if you're jumping backwards and forwards all the time, there's a good chance that sometimes Copilot is going to put the wrong notes in the wrong place. It is getting better at this, but it has happened before where if you jump around the different segments of the meeting, sometimes it gets those notes a little bit jumbled up. One of the other scenarios, you want Copilot to recognize you when you're speaking. As a participant in a meeting room, you can set up a voice profile if you want to. And I'll give you some tips and tricks a little bit later, just with regards to what's helped me when it comes to configuring certain things. I know Alistair's probably going to kill me for punting this specific thing, but to be completely honest, it has helped me a lot in my Office 365 journey. And I'll give it to you a little bit later. But Alistair's going to shout at me.
What's helped you?
Office 365 for IT pros. Written by Tony Redmond and co.
This call's recorded. I'm very excited that you are happy to promote that.
Okay. Well, I'll go through it. I'll go through it a little bit later on where you can find it and stuff. It's really not an expensive book. It gets updated and released. I'll show you a little bit later. Let's get through this a little bit quickly. So anyway, set up a voice profile. You can set up a voice profile so that Copilot can recognize who you are, and you can learn more about voice profiles. You can actually just Google voice profiles or Bing voice profiles, and you'll be able to set that up as well. You can also set up voice and face profiles, and if you want to, you can control this via policy as well. So if you don't want your tenant keeping any of these voice or face profiles, you can actually turn this off through like PowerShell or whatever the case may be, like a get CS Teams policy allow or something like that. So you can do that if you want to turn that off, but you could leave that on. Then scenario 5, you could then say, what about federated participants? Okay, so federated participants being either participants that are guests or, people that have been invited to the tenant or B2B or whatever the case may be. Security purposes, they're not necessarily permitted to access Copilot or Transcript. What you can do is you can inform the participants that will be in the meeting that it won't work for them. And then what you're going to have to do is perhaps maybe share the recording with them after the fact or whatever the case may be. They can ask questions during the meeting and those sorts of things, but there's certain things that won't work for them just based on policy as far as crossing those tenant boundaries is concerned. When we want to ensure high quality responses, ensuring high quality responses, make sure that the spoken language for the team meeting is set properly. Okay. Make sure that those voice profiles are set up correctly so that you can help identify the speakers as well. And then in some ways use voice isolation if you can. Teams is really, really good at this. Use supported devices so that it can block out any of that background noise. That does help improve the accuracy of Copilot's responses. So some of those tips and tricks are there as far as quality transcription is concerned. When it comes to prompting Copilot, Copilot only uses information available to the meeting. It does not have access to the participants list. Okay, so for instance, if you say how many people were in the meeting, if you're the meeting organizer, you can just use the attendance report. So don't try to ask Copilot specific questions like that. It just generally won't know. Copilot's responses are concise by nature. So again, if you want, there's certain ways of grounding your agents or Copilot. There's ways of making it more specific when it comes to answering these types of questions. So Copilot can format these responses for you, and it can put it in a bulleted or tabled list for you, so you don't have to do that either. Response validation, again, anything Copilot does can be wrong. So there's always a disclaimer at the bottom of any response that Copilot does. If, let's say, the transcription is wrong, you can submit feedback to say that it's wrong. I mean, do that. If Copilot gave you a really, really horrible answer or was completely off the mark when you asked it something, not necessarily about a meeting, but let's say about something that you asked it, trying to find some information around, I don't know, an email or some documents inside of SharePoint or whatever the case may be. If it gives you a completely wrong answer, report it, say it was wrong, because there's some learning that happens from there, so that it can be then fed back into our system so that we can then understand where we went wrong. Some of those recent changes that I was talking about, there was some critical updates that Al mentioned as well in February 25 that impacted Copilot functionality. As you know, GPT-5 has been integrated now as well as far as preview is concerned. We've got a default transcription feature, so you can do transcription by default now for tenants if you want, so that you can enhance your documentation as far as meetings are concerned, so that can happen automatically. We've also done voice and face profile enrollment so that you can improve authentication. So we've started to take those voice and face profiles and start using them for authentication. And then as far as the organizer ownership of a specific meeting has also changed since June 24. So basically what happens, that was where we started storing those recordings inside of OneDrive, so that the data retention and access to those meetings was changed. I'm sure you all know about that already, but it was quite a significant change with regards to where we stored those recordings. If you ever wanted some of the support articles, I'll post these in the GitHub when we're done. And then let's get to some of the fancy stuff now. So some of the fancy stuff, the facilitator. And for this, I'm going to play a video. Hopefully the sound comes through. It might not. Hey, I didn't share it with sound, did I? Let me just I have to share it with sound. Hey, Al.
Yeah, you do.
Give me 1 second while I does that. Include sound. Oh, goodness. Please hold. I don't have the driver. That was quick.
One of the things, Warren, that you mentioned about that voice profile. I keep finding a lot of customers haven't sent out comms around how to set up the voice profile. And also, I see in our offices and also in customer offices, there's a lot of open plan meetings where people are coming back to the office, but they're still attending a lot of meetings online.
Yeah.
And that voice isolation can really, really help, blocking out the person next to you having their own meeting. So as you get your slides sorted here, I think it's critical that you send out some sort of communication to say, you know what, like if you do register this voice profile, it can use the Teams rooms and your Teams device to make it that much better.
Exactly. 100%.
All right, you want to try it and I'll let you know if it works?
Let's hit it. Okay, so I'm going to mute myself.
The facilitator agent works alongside you and your team to help you manage your meetings effortlessly. Facilitator can be activated either when you're scheduling the meeting or during the meeting. To add Facilitator during a meeting, select Turn on Facilitator in the More tab at the top right of the window pane. Facilitator moderates the discussion by using the agenda or identifying the goals set at the beginning of the meeting. At the halfway point and before wrapping up, Facilitator recaps key decisions and open questions, ensuring that important follow-up tasks and details are not overlooked. Throughout the meeting, facilitator follows along, taking real-time notes and assigning follow-up tasks. Meeting participants can co-author the notes, revise, and add critical details as the meeting progresses. For meetings where attendees have joined from a Microsoft Teams room, the in-room view will automatically adjust to display the real-time notes for those attendees. After the meeting ends, you can easily access the meeting notes in the Recap tab. With Facilitator, your meetings become more productive and focused, leading to better outcomes and enhanced collaboration.
All right.
The Facilitator agent works alongside...
I mean, that's pretty cool. Like, you should be clapping, right? That's fun. There we go. Thank you. Yes. Yes, that's super fun. So facilitator, again, facilitator is an agent. So the facilitator does some really, really cool stuff. I'm not going to rehash it, but again, it's in meetings and it's also in chats. Okay. So you can also use facilitator inside of chats. So what you could do is you could turn it on inside of the chat. Let's say you've had this really long chat. Everybody's talking about, I don't know, your company Christmas party. Everybody's been throwing out some ideas. You just hit the facilitator button. It's going to summarize those ideas and then somebody can go off and action them. Because we often have some of these informal chats that happen, and then facilitator can just summarize those for us, which is pretty cool. Then we've got the interpreter agent. Now, the interpreter agent, I think, is something that we all need to just take a step back and understand just what's happening here. If we have to look at how far voice itself, and me being a voice engineer and understanding exactly what's happening here, live transcription was a breakthrough where we were able to take a person's voice and we were able to capture that in real time. And then we were able to translate that into text. So somebody was speaking Mandarin, and we were able to take that and put that into English, or they were speaking German and vice versa. And we could take that in real time. We would delay the stream just half a second or a second even, and then it would give the processing time to do that translation, and then you would see it. The next step is to then convert it straight back from text into something audible that you can hear, so that you've got this live translation. Then you overlay that in time over the person that's speaking inside the meeting with multiple participants at the same time. Now, just think about what's happening in the background, and then I'm going to show you this and just be amazed. So let's start this off.
Break down language barriers with the Interpreter agent for more inclusive meetings. Interpreter can be activated during a Teams meeting at any time. Once you've turned on Interpreter, you can choose from 9 different languages for real-time interpretation. You have the option of simulating your voice, or you can choose a preset voice option.
Hi, thank you everyone for joining. Today's session is a quick...
Hola, gracias a todos por unirse. La sesión de hoy es un breve recorrido de avances recientes y herramientas nuevas que estamos lanzando para apoyar el trabajo entre funciones.
Today, I'll be covering a few key updates that impact how we collaborate and where to find.
오늘은 우리가 협업하는 방식과 일상적으로 필요한 자료를 어디에서 찾을 수 있는지에 대해 주요 업데이트를 드리려고 합니다. 이번 세션에서는
Interpreter enables effortless global collaboration, allowing everyone to communicate authentically in meetings.
So that's super cool when you think about what's happening there. So you can see that, you know, when it comes to different time zone work, whatever the case may be, is you now broken that language barrier down completely. It's live captions was one thing, but this is taking it to a whole new level. And the fact that you can actually do a simulation of your own voice the person on the other side is also pretty sick.
Breakdown
so
link.
I'm super happy about that as well. Then let's just go over a couple of Copilot chat features. I mean, I'm sure everybody on this call has interacted with Copilot in some way. So let's talk about some of these prompt suggestions. And if you follow Jason, who's on the call now, Jason's got some really, really crazy prompts that he puts up every now and then. And some of them are super cool with regards to what it can actually do. So as far as some of these chats, you must be in a one-on-one or a group chat, and then you just click on the Copilot button on the side, and then explore the prompt suggestions. Like, go through them. Highlights from the day, what's happening on my calendar, organize things according to priority. You'll find that it takes a little bit of getting used to. At first, I was very manual myself. I had a bit of a, I don't want to blaspheme, but I had a bit of a come to Jesus moment where it just clicked one day, and it was like, wow, I can save a whole bunch of time by having these prompts run in schedules. And I can then have these prompts running in schedules on specific days with specific tasks going through specific items, whether it's my email, whether it's to-do items, whether it's planner, whatever the case may be, it then goes through that for me. And I'm sure that there's a whole bunch of people on this call that could contribute to a whole bunch of awesome prompts that they're using. Then we've got the summarized chats, which I showed you a little bit earlier, which is super cool. We've also got coach marks everybody knows about coach marks. And again, this is also really cool, especially if you don't necessarily get to all of these chats all the time. What you can do is you can just hit the summarize button at the top, and then it'll summarize everything that you've missed, especially if you've got incredibly chatty groups that you've, let's say, perhaps muted. You can just go back to them. You can view all of that straight away. You can also identify the open items and decisions. I don't know if you've noticed this specifically inside of Outlook. This has also come about. So, for instance, when your name is mentioned, there's a little icon now next to your name, next to the email inside of Outlook. Very similar situation. What's happening is Copilot is identifying if there's any tasks for you, specifically where your name has been mentioned, and then it opens that up so that you can have these different items and decisions that you can lock down. Then you've got chat Q&A as well. So you can ask about specific content inside of the chat as well. So you can query it. So you can chat with the chat about the chat, which is pretty cool. Then you've got Channels Copilot, which is also there as well. Channel Copilot, you've got different entry points as well. So one, you can navigate using the 3 dots, or alternatively, within the channel post of interest, you can just click it to expand the full conversation, and you can enter in there. You've also got highlights as well. So Channels Copilot highlights is also there, where there's a button that can signify that it's associated a specific channel post there. So you can also ask with the suggested prompts and say, what are my open tasks? Is there anything that I need to do? So that's one of my favorites. Is there anything that I need to do? Because then I don't have to catch up on the whole conversation. I just understand what it is that I need to do for that specific conversation. If you need to learn anything, please go look at Microsoft Learn. I have done a bunch of sessions around MCP. I don't know if you know, for those who don't know what MCP is, Model Context Protocol. And Model Context Protocol is in essence, like, I guess, a language that talks to LLMs. That's putting it simply. So for instance, if we take something like a GitHub Copilot, or you take something like Claude, or you take something like Perplexity, or whatever your LLM of choice is, or the desktop chat agent that you use, you can link it up to what we call an MCP server. And we have an MCP server for Microsoft Learn, and it saved me a bunch of time. So what you can do is either Bing or Google Microsoft Learn MCP, and it'll take you to the instructions of using that MCP server. And essentially what you can do is you can chat with our documentation, our live documentation that is kept up to date all the time. So you can be sure that whenever you ask a question, the LLM is going to go to that MCP server, look at it, pull out the correct information about a product that has been released, what its capabilities are, how much it costs. So for instance, I'm an Azure guy generally. If let's say I need to know something specifically about a specific product or SKU that's in a specific region, how much it costs, where, and if it's GA or not, or if it's in private preview, whatever the case may be, is all I have to do is ask Microsoft Learn. I don't have to trawl through the documentation over and over again. But again, Microsoft Learn does have free self-paced on-demand training that you can go ahead and you can do. And like Al said at the beginning of the call, adoption.microsoft.com/Copilot. And you can go and you can learn about a bunch of stuff there. There's also a Copilot Academy. Some of the compliance controls I mentioned a little bit earlier, I'm just going to touch on those briefly. You've got the default Copilot access setting, so allow Copilot for B2B members. You've got admin controls as well. You've got enterprise collaboration for large multi-tenant organizations, which is a thing. Storage and ownership changes, which is something I mentioned a little bit earlier. So co-organizers have editing rights and organizers have full control of download permissions via stream of these meeting artifacts. You've got granular access controls on certain artifacts like recordings, transcripts, the insights, and the Copilot responses. And then you've got pre-meeting configurations, as I mentioned a little bit before. You've also got access level options as far as everyone, organizers, co-organizers, or specific people that you specify as well. We've also got participant notifications. Remember, every time you do something with regards to Copilot, turn on the transcription or turn on the recording, all of the people inside of the meeting are going to be notified about this so that you can do consent management. We've also got data residency options so that you can set the preferred location for different places where we store the data. Couple of implementation bits and pieces, just as we start wrapping up. The license assumptions, just don't assume that you have the right licenses straight away just because you have Teams Premium. Generally, most of the stuff's available if you got a Copilot license. The only during meeting misunderstanding. If it's only during meeting, then you are going to lose the stuff afterwards. So like, don't say only during meeting if you don't want the stuff to be deleted. And then again, just as far as the chat integrations are concerned, just try use it effectively. Your decision framework. So deployment approaches, and this is something that Jason, I mean, I don't know if you want to jump in here, but as far as some of the stuff that you've done with deployment at customers, is there anything as far as the decision framework that you want to just throw in the last like 5 minutes to say that don't do this as far as deployment is concerned?
I think the one thing that stands out for me is the meeting policies, like having a standard global policy, I don't think is going to work anymore. You're going to have to go like department by department or entity by entity and figure out what's the global policy. And then also like if you're going to have different sensitivities of meetings, what does that look like for a highly confidential meeting versus like a general meeting? And then tailor that out. So that's the one thing, because I still see a lot of customers with just like one meeting policy that applies to all. But we also have like different templates of meetings now. So we can actually make it a lot easier for our users to go, you know what, this is an HR meeting, this is a board meeting. Let them just choose the template and the policy applies to that. So that's the one thing that I can think of, Warren.
Cool. And if you're ever looking for those meeting policies, you can find them up in here. So you would go to the M365 Admin Center. You can go through to Teams over here, and then you can go to Meeting Policies, and you'll see that there's a bunch here. And then you can go, you can change some of the meetings over here, and you'll see things like recording and transcription, and a whole bunch of other stuff that are here as well. So you can find those in there.
And then there's one other thing I thought of. We've had a lot of these AI bots join our meetings. Some customers get quite scared of these different bots and these different meetings, and they often want to block the external meeting AI and only allow the approved company AI to join the meetings. So that's also another common ask that we get, and that revolves around Teams apps and anonymous joiners, joining the meetings. So that's also another thing I'll throw in there, that we've had a lot of asks around, how do we allow these trusted AI note takers, and how do we block the ones that we don't trust?
100%. And then just to sort of add this all in here, you'll see this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. So Office 365 for IT pros. I mean, I know it's a shameless plug, but I have been using it for years. It has everything from Intra to OneDrive to SharePoint to Teams to Exchange, even how message flow and transport works with regards to Exchange Online, where data is stored. And so it's all organized into chapters around managing your tenants, managing your identities, how the Microsoft ecosystem works, managing video, managing groups, teams, architectures, and structures. And it's a really well structured, written book that keeps being iterated over and over. And it's written by MVPs like Al and Tracy, and they've dedicated a lot of time to writing this book, and it's really, really good. I recommend
we
it.
did not write this book, Warren, and neither did Tracy, so it's none of our inputs.
No. I'm saying like MVPs like. So I'm saying that, as far as
just
the
to
MVP
qualify, I have nothing to do with this document.
No, he does not. But what I'm saying is MVPs essentially basically wrote this book. And it's, as far as adminning Microsoft 365, it's helped me a lot in my journey. And I think with that, I am done talking. Any other questions?